This is a career management television production.
Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate having you here.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could begin with just walking me through your resume.
Okay. Well, first, graduated in 2001, and when I graduated, I was initially going to go into the consulting industry. However, there was a downturn in the economy at that time, so a lot of firms were rescinding offers, and I just so happened to be unfortunate with a bunch of my other college classmates where our offers were rescinded at various consulting firms across the nation. However, I was fortunate enough to land in a private equity firm, and the private equity firm I landed with initially was Farrell's Capital Group post-graduation. When I was working at Farrell's Capital Group, I was kind of went on the, the entry level for an analyst. And while I was there, I did a lot of both financial analysis as well as putting together pitch materials or deck materials for the company itself so they could actually go out to market to fundraise for future funds that they were trying to raise at the firm. That gave me a lot of experience in how to both understand the particulars within private equity, but also how to understand the analytics that go behind a decision making for an investment process. However, their focal point was primarily the Texas/Southern markets, and I wanted to kind of expand my reach into more areas since I'm from Texas originally. So I had the opportunity with one of the partners departing the firm to work for his new firm he was starting, which had a more national and Caribbean focus. So I left Farrell's Capital Group to work for Osan VI LLC. And because I had worked on the ground floor of Farrell's Capital for several years, he wanted me to help him both start the fund and also help in putting a lot of the materials that were used for vetting a new investment. So not only was I involved in the analytical side of things, but I was also involved in kind of developing the fund from the ground up. So I worked at that firm for several years, for probably about 5 or 6 years, and worked very closely with the private equity manager who had started the fund. However, after about being in that role or being in the private equity industry for about 9 or 10 years, I was thinking I love finance, but I like most about finance and most about private equity is breaking down a company and understanding the fundamentals of what makes that company successful and what makes that company kind of go to market and take over the market. So that's why I wanted to kind of add a little bit more to my toolkit, because when I majored at Stanford, I majored in biology, so I did not have a business background. And by going back to business school, and specifically UT, I wanted to kind of fill in some of those gaps that I felt were in my toolkit, but in addition, understand more about the basics and fundamentals of what makes a business more successful. So as a result, I decided to go to the Macomb School of Business, and my focal point was going to be consulting and general management, so I can kind of fill in some of those areas where I thought I was lacking, and then ultimately look for a permanent job within a consulting firm, or if that didn't work out, maybe a general management rotational track.